Man United have been looking at signing Manuel Ugarte for a while now. We agreed personal terms a few weeks ago, but David Ornstein has reported that Man United are now looking at alternative targets because they will not reduce their price. And by the way, we should absolutely be doing that. But what we need to do at the same time is look at viable alternatives. What I'm going to do in this video is compare the profiles of 6 different midfield alternatives. One name who is probably going to be above Ugarte in the midfield desirable list for a lot of you. And I'm going to compare some other names that maybe you wouldn't have heard of so far. But you can let me know in the comments who would be your ideal partner for Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes in midfield if it's not Manuel Ugarte. And according to David Ornstein, it's not going to be him. We shouldn't be paying that much. That's how much they paid Sporting Lisbon, and he's not a better player. Therefore, it should be less. PSG are digging the heels in. All right, cool, we'll move on. In the same way we moved on from Branthwaite, we'll move on from Ugarte. And a name that's probably going to be, as I said, above Ugarte in the list for a lot of fans is Zubimendi, right? The Real Sociedad in Spain midfielder is a very different profile to Ugarte. What I'm going to do in this video as well is just directly compare the profile charts of Ugarte with all 6 of these midfielders. Now, Zubimendi is a very different type of midfielder. Ugarte is that ball winner, that tenacious tackler in midfield. He's not really somebody who's progressive with the ball at his feet. Zubimendi, very different. He's more of the Frenkie de Jong style midfielder rather than the tough tackler like Ugarte. It's 2 very different profiles. However, if Man United are going to walk away because we won't pay the 60 mil euro fee for Ugarte, I imagine the same issue would exist with Zubimendi. I probably think if Ugarte was too expensive, that Zubimendi would be considered equally as expensive, but certainly would be an interesting alternative. As I said, very different profile of players and more that playmaker from deep. Now, Fofana is a name that's been on the list for United all summer long, right? Been linked with AC Milan, been linked with West Ham. And if you look at the charts here, you can see a substantial difference in how he plays compared to Ugarte. Fofana, in my opinion, is if we didn't have Kobbie Mainoo, I think Fofana would be an excellent midfield signing. But I can see a lot of similarities between his game and Mainoo's game. He's somebody who's certainly the bigger threat with Fofana comes in the opposition's half, comes with his threat in front of goal. You can see how impressive he is there. In terms of progressing the ball and carrying it, better than Ugarte as well, but he's not that tough tackler. He will not be winning the ball back for United anywhere near as much as Ugarte is. But Fofana, for the price that he will be available for, we've seen 30, 35 million euros. It's going to be about half of what Ugarte is. I wouldn't say he's an alternative in terms of the profile, but it's an alternative type of signing. And there's one name which, of course, all fans will be familiar with, and that's Sofyan Amrabat. Now, Man United decided not to extend, well, not to pay the option, which I think was around about 20 million euros. So if we went back in for Amrabat, presumably we go in less. And you don't really need me to tell you the game of Amrabat. In my personal opinion, I think we used Amrabat in a different way to what I expected last season. I think Amrabat can be, you know how he was towards the end of the season, last few games, and how good he was against City in a midfield 2 rather than a single pivot. I think that's where Amrabat's far better, and profile-wise actually quite similar to Ugarte down there. You can see he's actually got more blocks than Ugarte, not particularly that much more progressive, and certainly isn't a threat in front of goal. I think Amrabat would have a fair amount of similarities to Ugarte, but certainly not as athletic as Ugarte is, and that was a big issue, covering the big spaces. Now, ideally, those spaces won't exist in the same way they existed last season, because Man United will be more compact as a team, so he wouldn't be exposed as much. But these are the kind of 3 names on everybody's, not everybody's list, but names that we've already been linked with. Zubimendi, Fofana, and Amrabat. You let me know out of those 3 which you would choose. But I'm also going to run through the names of 3 other ones. And first up is Anton Stach. Now, big up to Kyle Anker in The Athletic, and I've done a little bit of research myself and been looking at alternatives across the summer. Now, Anton Stach, he's a big dude. You can see down there, 1.94. I think he's like 6'3". And in terms of the stats, you can see there's a big difference here between Ugarte and Stach. Stach is somebody, well, he's got better progression, better at carrying the ball forward. You can see down here, overall, a bit of a stronger game. Now, Ugarte is somebody who does have that pass completion. He's somebody who safely recycles possession in front of his back 4, receives the ball and finds a teammate. And you can argue that's one of the most important things that this midfielder is going to need to do. But he could well be. Anton Stach strikes me as one of those signings, like, you know, when, I don't know, what was his name? What was the name of the player that Liverpool signed in midfield? Can't remember him. Anyway, he's kind of potentially that sort of signing, kind of maybe unearthing a gem. And this is what United have to be better at, by the way. It's not to say that, Manchester United, because we can't sign Ugarte, there's going to be no midfielders available in the market. That's just wrong. And Anton Stack, I think, would be a name that kind of stacks up when you look at the stats. And another name that has been linked with actually a move to Liverpool this summer, because I think they're actually in the market for a number 6 as well, is Morten Frendrup from Genoa. Now, these last two names, they're not going to be names where on the same sort of development level as Ugarte. They're probably slightly riskier signings. And in my opinion, at the price that we could get quoted for Frendrup and the last name that I'm going to be mentioning, United could, in fact, in theory, bring in Amrabat plus one of these for maybe in the region of 30 to 40 million overall. And you might say that that's actually going to be better for our squad building. And then it leaves Manchester United with the opportunity to then go big on that number 6 style signing next summer, maybe when we've got more funds available for it. And in the meantime, we could go with someone like Amrabat and maybe someone like Frendrup together. Or someone like Daniel Balocca. Now, Balocca, Sassuolo have just been relegated from Serie A, right? And he's just been relegated. So the numbers are part of a threatened team, a team that did get relegated. But again, it may well be one of those market opportunities. Daniel Balocca, I would need to do all of this is going to be very top level research. All right, I'm not going to give you the full tactical breakdowns of all 6 of these different targets, but there are a variety of targets. If you want that De Jong style player, that person who will receive the ball from defence, maybe drive it forward, carry it forward, progress the ball from deep, and be that playmaker in terms of how De Jong could have been, that would be Zubimendi. In terms of, I put Fofana down in a similar sort of category and profile as Mainu. He can be a good defensively, but I actually think his best attributes come when he's more of a number 8 and actually more aggressive and moving forward. And I'm not sure that's the exact profile we need. Amrabat, I think, was slightly misused for the majority of the season. And I do think he still could be a good signing, but he wouldn't solve our midfield problems. But maybe that's not what we're going to be able to do this summer. If we're going to be able to solve one area, it's going to clearly be in that central defence. That's where United's efforts and the big money signings are likely to happen, seeing as we're walking away from Ugarte for 60 mil. And then you've got 3 different types, the 3 different levels, I suppose. You've got Anton Stack, you've got Morten Frendrup, and you've got Daniel Balocca. All different prices, all different levels and qualities of players, but they are all quality players. And with the right coaching setup, United should be able to get significantly better players by the end of the season than when we sign them. We should be able to develop them into better midfielders in the same way that Brighton developed players, in the same way that basically any other club apart from United has developed players over the last however many years. But if United are going to be looking away from Manuel Ugarte, which David Ornstein says, which one would you put down as the ideal alternative signing? I've run through 6 names there. One more time: Zubimendi, Fofana, Amrabat, Stack, Frendrup, and Balocca. Are there other names that you would put on the list? Maybe Andre from Fluminense, maybe Gomez from Wolves, or there might be some others. Let me know in the comments below, because if United are going to move away from Ugarte, we need to move fast on an alternative.